start with our video. Before that, let's analyze that what is the structure black has. Black has three connected pawns, whereas white has this pawn on f4, g2, and h4. Now we're going to the main thing in the pawn end games is that we are going to go for the king positions to understand the king positions. Here white has this tempo move, and I want you people to pause the video and think that due to this tempo move, would white be able to get the opposition? I hope you have understood that even white has this tempo move of g3, he would be unable to get the opposition, because if he goes over here, king will go over here. Let's check it out. King c6, king e7, and if the white king tries to come over here, then this king d7, and black gets the opposition. So instead of it, if white tries to play the move king c7, then king e6, and if white tries to go over here, what would happen? For example, king d8, then black can counter by playing like this. For example, king d5, king e7, king e4. Sorry, here white would win. Here king e4. And if king f6, king to f4, king g6, and now king g4. King f6, king into h4, and king into f5. Still the game would be drawn. Because if black would go win this pawn, then white would go for this pawn and win it. Let's go back to our position. For example, in this position, if white tries g3 first, then black simply goes for king d7, and white can't enter in this position. He can't outflank his opponent. I hope you have understood the concept behind it. That the reason behind the problem with the white is that his king is far away, and the black king has many squares to do even triangulation to oppose the king, like this sidewise, or to oppose the king on this sixth rank. Black has many options over here, and even this tempo move g3 does not work for white over here. So let's check this example. And I want you people to pause the video and think that is there any possibility that white can win this game? I hope you have understood. The problem is that white this pawn on b2 is hold on by this pawn on h4, and black king is directly opposing the white king. So it is not possible for white to win this position. For example, he goes for king d3, black goes for king d5. He has to move to king c2, then king c4. After king c1, king b3, king b1, king c4, king c2. And there is no way that white can make progress in this position. Let's check it out that if it is black's turn in this position. Do you people think that if it is black's turn, Black has something in this position. No, the problem still exists. The problem is that after king d5 and king d3, king c5, king c2, and king c4, the same position arises. And there is no way that black can make progress. Black can enter over here and take this pawn. I hope you have understood the concept of this position also. Let's check this out. I'm going to flip the board for you people to let you better understand. It is blacks to move and draw. Kindly pause the video and think that how black can draw this game. I hope that you have understood that this pawn is backward on g3. If this square is being controlled, then black can draw this position. So the move over here is f5 check. Because after that, king d5, sorry, d4, king d6, directly opposing. And if white tries to go from over here, then simple king e6, king f3, king f6. If even white tries for this g4 move, black has the opposition. So remember, if you have these types of position in your game, immediately take control of the forwarding scale, of the pawn, which is on the back end. So immediately f5 check, and the square is covered. And there is no way that white can make progress. Let's see what happens that if it is white's move in this same position. I'm going to flip the board, the same position, but it is now white's to move. And white can immediately go for outflanking. And how he would do that? He would play the move king d5. Because if black tries to oppose him by playing the move king d6, now he will go for g4. Black can't go any further. So he has to move back. And now king c5. And there is no way for the black to take the opposition because his pawn is in the way. And now if f5 check and g into f5 check, king f6, this is a draw. So what do if f5 check? The point is to go for king f6. This is still a draw. So where we go wrong? We went wrong that if king e6, then the move is to play the outflank the king. Don't go immediately like this. That king e6 and you are going over here. Now black has the reserve to make it a draw. In such type of positions, let me flip the board. Instead of this move, you are going to immediately outflank your opponent king. So I hope you have understood the concept that if in this position, if it is white's move, white is going to immediately outflank the black king. But if it is black's to move, then he can draw the game by immediately playing the move f5. Because if this king is far away and this king is even far away opposing this king, and white plays the move g4 and pawn into g4. Then white has one, two, three, four squares, and black has one, two, three squares to go in. So remember that. Let's check it out that what happens if you immediately play the move blunderous move g4. Black will immediately counter with the f5 check. And after this take and king f6, and the king has to move king f6 and king into f5, and it is a dead draw position. So I hope you have understood the position. We move to our next chapter. This is the position, and in this position there is only one move draws. I'm going to going you people to give. I'm going to give you people a hint that H file. If the pawn is on H file, then it is a draw, because here white can oppose this blacking, and blacking can't come out of this cage like this. If he would try to come out of this cage, then white could tuck away in this corner. So this is the hint that H pawn draws. Pause the video and think what to play and draw. I hope you have calculated the move, and that was a simple a4, because black has to take. After b into a4, now king c3. And when black goes like this, then you can go and grab these both pawns. Let's check it out that black says that I am not going to take this pawn. What happens? If he plays a move like king a1, now simple a5. If king e2, now king c3. If black king comes over here to king b1, now king b3. And black has to stay over here to take this pawn. And white can't go up forward, because if he will go up forward, this pawn will be lost. Let's go back to our position, and for example, after a4 and b4 is being played, and white plays something like after a5. Now it is a win for white. Sorry, it is a win for black, because after king a1, now king b3, win for white. King has to move, and after this take and king go over here, black can't stop this pawn from going. So we come back to over this position, that for example, if black does not take this pawn, then it is a win for white. He must have to take this pawn, otherwise he will lose the game. The reason behind is that if you don't take and move the pawn over here, it is black's to move, and black king has to vacant this square, this b3 square. Sorry, after this move a5. Now it is black's to move. Black has to go back, and now after this move, king b3, you will capture this pawn. Let's check it out that what happens if white tries a defense like this, king c3. Now it is a win for black. The reason behind is that now black is going to play his pawns like this. Connected pawns. He has a connected pawn. And black king is curing this queening scare b1 and a1, and king moves back to c2. Now b4, and white has to take. And if he tries to play the move like a4, then first b3 check. King moves, for example, to c1, then king a1, and white has to move away from the security of this pawn, and black wins the game. So remember, if you face this type of position, immediately tries to double the pawn on h file to make your opponent move and make his pawns doubled on h file, because on h file then your king can hold to a draw. Let's see what happens if it is black's to move in this position. Black plays the move a5. Now king c3. And what happens if black plays over a king a1? Again king c2. King a2, king c3. There is no way that white can win over here. In this position, if it is white's move, it is a draw. But even in this position, it is a black's move, still it is a draw. I would like you people to put a board, physical board, in front in front of yourself, then put this position on the board and analyze it deeply, because these types of positions usually occur in our games, or whether we can create these types of positions. We move to our next example, and here black wins. Black to play and win. And the simple method is that black is going to do triangulation and is going to come to this side of the board with tempo. That when he will move this pawn, then his king could immediately come over here to g3, and white king would have to step back. Let's see how black achieves this triangulation. He goes for example, king g7. White immediately counters him by playing the move g4. Now king f7, king h4. For example, now king f6 and king g4. The same position arises again. So where we have made a mistake? Let's go back. If king f7 and white immediately counters with king g5, now king g7, king h4. Now it is the time king h6. You have to maneuver the king to this side of the board, because here you can't do a maneuver. Your pawn is in your way. You have to come this side of the board. And now if white plays the move king g4, and after g5, white comes over here to king f5. Now king h5. And you know that your pawn would be fast to queen, because it has just 4 moves, and black needs 6 moves his pawn to queen. And you remember the rule that the pawns on E, D, B, and G are usually lost for the side defending when the king is near. So in these types of position, you are going to go for the vacant side of your pawn, where you can do the easy triangulation. So we go back to our next example, and here I'm going to let you people know the rule in these type of positions. Just a moment. Sorry. Remember, the point in these types of position is that white has this tempo move, and because of this tempo move, he's going to play for this g8 square and force the black play the pawn move. As at this position, when the king would be on g8, this black king would have no move, and he would be forced to play the move e5. Just a moment. I'm sorry. I think I am going to have nausea. So the move in the game over here is king f7. After king h7, now this tempo move e3 wins the game, because after king h6, now king g8, and black is forced to move because these squares are covered, and black has to move this pawn e5, and after f into g5 check, king g6, now king f8. Simple. And black has no better try than this move f4 and g into f4, king f5, going for this pawn on f4 and this pawn on h4, but he would be very slow because king to f7, after king into f4, now this pawn queens fast. So I hope you have remembered the rule that you are going to take away all the squares of the king and then force him to play the move g5 and win the game. Let's continue to our next example. What happens if it is now they both have the pawns, and white does not have this tempo move, which was in our last example where he had this tempo move g3, and here white does not have this tempo move. It would be a little bit tricky, but white is going to do the triangulation and is going to get complete dominance of the square on g8. And how he is going to do that? He is going to play the move king e7, for example. After king g7, now king e8, king f6, now king f8. Now this king has to move away. King e6, now king g7, king d5, but he has lost his all pawns. So if he, for example, after king e7, he goes for king g7, and after king e8, he counters you with playing the move king g8. Then what? You're going to play the move king e7 and king g7, now king e6. And if black, where he could go? He can go whether to g8, whether to g8, whether to h8, or whether to f8. If he goes over here, you comes here and collect these pawns. So even this position without tempo, white is going to win, because he is going to take complete dominance of this g8 square, and black would be forced to play this move g5. We go back, we go to our next example. Now the pawns are on ef g file, and black has this whole h file, and this position is a draw, because if white would go for this triangulation, then black can also do this triangulation. White would go for distinct opposition, black would also go for distinct opposition. For example, if king d7, then king h7, and there is no way that white can win this position. And so I hope you have understood this concept also. If black has this extra file, whether on any side of the board. So our next example is this, and this one is a tricky one. It is white to move and draw. I want you people to pause the video and think deeply that how this position is a draw if white plays correctly. I'm going to give you an example. The one thing is that white is going to get the distinct opposition. The second thing he is going to get, that he is going to take away the tempo move from this white pawn. I hope you people pause the video and have find the best move. The best way to take the distinct opposition is king g2. If black tries like this, king c6, sorry c3, then now this move h5. You are going to take the tempo move away from black. Because, for example, if white tries to get the opposition like this, king f3, now black can enter from here. Because king d2, king f2, trying to oppose him. Now the move h5. This tempo move. And white has to give away the security of these squares. For example, he goes for over here. Now king e1. He has no move. He comes over here and this pawn is going to fall. So we come back to our position. The best move over here was king g2. After king c3, now h5, you are going to take the tempo move from the black. And if black still tries king d3, now take the pawn. After adding h into g6, there is no way, because king f3 and it is a opposition. You are going to whether control these squares or you are going to whether control this third rank. If black tries to go for overhead, king d4, then king f2. If he comes over here, now you are controlling this rank, third rank. So this was the end of today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and this video has also cleared many of your concepts. Always remember, if you find these things very difficult, I want you people to look at my basic end games videos, which will let you people hold to the basic ideas which we apply in intermediate, advanced, expert, and master level end games. Okay, if you liked it, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you very much.